Okay, Spriha, welcome to the departure board. Thank you for
Hello.
coming and having a chat. So why don't you tell me your story? Like start from the beginning. Like where did you grow up, and where did you study? What did you study? And how did all of those things lead you to going and spending some time in Taiwan?
So I have quite a long story actually, just because I've always been very interested in going abroad, traveling, and just getting different experiences in. So actually, since I grew up in Hertfordshire, and since I was starting to think about what I want to do with my career and my future seriously, I did have a really big issue of like I didn't want to niche down or like pick just one subject because I was so interested in learning everything and just multiple subjects. And even I wasn't even sure if I was going to go to university at one point because I thought I might instead pursue performing arts. So it was a very broad uh, a very broad like range of what I was considering going into. And then I did end up going to sixth form and choosing a few subjects. And then when I was in sixth form, I actually was, through my school, connected to a Sutton Trust Fulbright program, which was the US program. And what I really liked about that was that I could go and study in the liberal arts curriculum, which then allowed me that freedom and flexibility to do multiple subjects at once and kind of not bound off anything too strictly. So that was a program that's specifically made for high achieving students from low income households, to give them the opportunity to reach these really high ranking American universities that offer really good programs and also really good funding because they are private universities. So that program really supported a cohort of us to apply to American universities. And the end result was that I didn't actually end up going to an American university. I got very close, but because of financial reasons, it didn't end up working out, and that was a real shame. But I was still very eager to try and make going abroad work somehow with education. So I went to university at Brunel University London, and I was always kind of looking out for any opportunities of how the university could support me going abroad, or even if it's just for like a short-term thing, because I knew going into my course that it actually did not offer study abroad year, which was a real bummer. But it was, the course itself was really good, so I was like, it's okay, like I will deal with it. And they did offer placement year, so I kind of always had the idea on the back of my head, like I'll see if I can try to get a placement year abroad. It was very unheard of. I didn't know anyone, or the university themselves even didn't really have many examples of people, especially from my course subject area, who had gone abroad during placement year. Getting a placement itself is hard enough just in the UK. Even in my year, I think only 7 or 8 out of like 50 got a placement. So having like the even higher aspiration of going abroad was definitely, like, I think, to use like a very Gen Z term, very delusional of me to actually think that this was realistic. But you kind of have to be a bit delusional if you are trying to aim for like these very high things. So it's like measured delusion. um, and yeah, I started applying for placement year, and I had a few connections from like different programs I had done. I was really involved with like the language center at Brunel, so I had like a connection to this Japanese high school that I had worked for during a summer school when they came to Brunel, and I tried reaching out to them and just reaching out to like anyone I knew, but none of those uh, networking attempts really worked out successfully. And so I decided to focus back on only applying to UK based internships. And it got pretty far into the year, and I actually even applied for a summer program, and then was currently on this summer program in South Korea, when I saw that my university had actually sent out an email announcing this program they collaborated with Pagoda Projects for. and that was actually quite late in the game. So it was like around May, I think, and I'd been searching for a placement since like November time, or even prior to that, because I was reaching out to connections during the summer before. But seriously looking for a placement probably like a few months before that. And then I applied for this summer program and I got in. So I was thinking, okay, at least if I don't have a placement, I have this summer program that was that had a lot of funding with it as well, that I was going to go on in case I didn't have a placement to talk about on my CV or for future interviews and stuff. And then before that summer program actually ended up starting, Brunel announced this Pagoda joint program, and this program was to send 10 students from Brunel to Taiwan with in collaboration with Pagoda projects. And so I applied for that program and I got into that, and then they were able to, help send off my CV to companies. And that is how I got connected to a Taiwanese company that I interviewed for, and then I interviewed for them. I also did an extra task to at another stage of the process, and then I was informed that I got chosen. So then I was able to finalize all of that and end up going to Taiwan.
That's amazing. Well, going back to the Fulbright and Sutton Trust program, it sounds to me like that really helped to kind of like drive your like continue your motivation to go and gain this experience abroad, even if you didn't go on to that program in the US. But would you encourage other people who are looking at that and considering it to apply and to go through that process, even if it didn't work out? Or like, how do you reflect on it now?
I definitely would encourage people to go on it. But that is with like the caveat that it was a very grueling experience. But I think because of that, it, putting yourself into uncomfortable situations just forces you to grow. And so similarly, I think it really showed me that like going for things, even if I don't fully believe I'll get them, is a worthwhile pursuit, because you never know, really. Through applying for a very prestigious scholarship and actually getting to the final round, to the point where like the university paid to have me fly out to America and like stay there for a weekend, it showed me like even if I didn't fully believe in myself at that point, other people saw something in me, and I still maybe don't know fully to what extent they saw in me, but that university was one of the ones that I applied to. It wasn't my most researched university. It was kind of one of the ones that I was like, oh, this looks like a good opportunity. Like, I'll just try it. I'll just see. And then it ended up being the one that I got the furthest in. And then through that process, I learned a lot more about the institution and like all the good things about it. And then, getting that far, even though I didn't expect it, it really taught me to believe in myself more. And so then I think even when in the end it was a really unfortunate sort of failure, even though I don't really think of it as a failure, some other people might see it as a failure, but it kind of, the main thing I took away from it was that like really anything can happen and you don't know unless you try.
But I think there's also something in that it wasn't the one that you'd immediately gone, oh, that's the one that I really want to do. Maybe everyone else had a similar mindset, and therefore that one had fewer applicants or was like slightly less popular, was a bit more off the beaten track maybe. And I found that if you factor that into if you can kind of harness that and go, okay, where are less people looking, but it's still an incredible experience, I think that can mean that there's less competition, and it's a easier door to break down to go and work abroad somewhere, or to go and do that period of study. So
yeah, definitely. And also I can add on to that, like I knew nothing about Taiwan before I went. I didn't even know it was also called Republic of China. Like I really had no idea about the country. But then when I went there, I realized the same thing. And like, for example, when in the UK, I've tried to volunteer for London Fashion Week in the past, and just not gotten any reply when I reach out to companies who are exhibiting there. But I tried again in Taiwan, and because it's much smaller and it's kind of the top designers are a lot more accessible, it's the same kind of thing. And I was able to actually network there and then start building a really organic relationship with a brand there. And then turns out they also come to London Fashion Week. And then this past Fashion Week in February, I was able to work with them at London Fashion Week. So also, yeah, building like global relationships, kind of, I guess. You never know like where a connection is going to take you.
That's amazing. Sometimes the route to B goes via C and D. But yeah, and I also think your comment about, you know, doing a work placement abroad being delusional, like I do, like I think the data kind of backs that up at the moment, because not enough students in the UK are doing their, like not enough students are doing a work placement who signed up for a 4-year course that included a work placement. A lot of people go straight to final year for various reasons, but not enough students are doing a placement abroad, even if their course is called, you know, like international business management, the international bit. Sometimes I see a whole cohort of a university where there's hundreds of students on that degree program, and maybe 2 go and do their placement abroad. So it's not happening enough. So I'd like to think that in 10 years' time we can reflect back on this chat together and say, you know, doing a work placement abroad has gone from being delusional to normal.
Yeah,
just something
hopefully.
like a rite of passage. It's something that's accessible and that people will go and do. So that's what we're trying to build with the departure board, at least. So yeah, hopefully we can make that a reality. So tell me a bit more about your experience in Taiwan then. I saw some of your LinkedIn posts and some of the stuff that you were working on. It looked amazing, but talk me through it. Like what do you study? And then, you know, what did you work on when you were there? Tell me about the company and all the things that you were working on.
Of course. So I studied digital design at Brunel University London, and my placement was originally it started off as a social media video intern at this company called Phoenix Group Asia, based in Taoyuan, Taiwan, and it eventually did kind of form into more of a UX UI experience internship, because as I took on some extra tasks that was based off what the CEO was planning at the time. And so I kind of spent like the first half of my internship focusing more on social media, and the second half was more on helping my boss develop this new app idea she had. And that was really good because I want to go into UX UI actually in the future. And so the fact that the role was able to kind of morph and it kind of just ended up aligning with my interests in a very natural way was really cool. And so yeah, I was the only design person at the company. The company is okay, let me get this right. The company is a English teacher recruitment agency, so ESL agency for short, and they recruit foreign people to Taiwan to come to the country to teach English at various levels of the education system. And so I was the only design person, so I was handling all of their social media. They had a presence beforehand, but not a very refined one. So I was kind of cleaning that up and helping making like branding assets to enhance that and also create a more consistent presence over multiple social media platforms. So also creating just any engaging and relevant content I could for any of those, like writing blogs for LinkedIn, making posts and also video content for Instagram, Facebook, and maintaining all that, like scheduling and planning posts for specific festivals that were going on or anything like that. And then in the second half, I kind of slowly started to help more with sort of helping out with managing the user experience, user interface design of this app, because my boss had chosen to work with this developer team in Nigeria. So it was actually very, I got so much teamwork experience during this internship because I was working with my coworkers in the office design person there didn't really concern them. So I would go to them for questions generally, but the majority of my work I could just do kind of on my own at my desk. And when I was doing the more app side of things in the second half of the internship, I was remotely communicating with my boss, who actually was in America most of the time. She did come to Taiwan for like a month, but that was also very spontaneous. And most of the time, she was just going to be remote. And then also the developers in Nigeria who were in Nigeria. So it was someone in America, someone in Nigeria, and someone in Taiwan, all trying to work on one project together. So the time zones were insane. But it gave me a lot of very good experience of how to handle the problems that come up when you're working with, you know, people from different cultures, people who don't speak the same predominant language as you, people who are from different disciplines even, and who grew up from different places, and us all trying to work together. So it was a very valuable experience overall, I'd say, because that was all fully remote. What else did I do? I also, at some point, I started doing, this was like an offer from the beginning. And then a few months into my internship, I started doing these extra like English lessons for my coworkers, as a lot of them had good English, but there's a lot of like cultural things that they weren't aware of. And also generationally, I am a lot younger than a lot of them. So there was a lot of stuff that I could share actually that was very interesting and that they had no idea and were excited to learn about. So I would do these English lessons every week and kind of just share like bits of culture and maybe things like text abbreviations in English that they could then use in the office or we could use online. Yeah.
I have a question for you as well, Spriha, because that sounds brilliant. And I just wonder if there was a student right now who's studying, you know, digital design, but is really interested in fashion and wanted to go into the fashion industry as a career, and then they were looking at the opportunity that you did and working for an education company, and the headline they would see is like, you know, yeah, I could apply some of my skills in that role, but it's not in the sector that I want to work in, therefore I'm not sure if I want to do that. But you clearly use that as a platform to go and build your network and connect with other people to then be able to go to London Fashion Week on the back of it. So what would you say to a student who's kind of like looking at opportunities and considering whether it's going to help them get to where they want to go when they graduate?
I think it's important to remember that no matter where you go or no matter where you are, if you're the kind of person who is outgoing and open-minded and willing to like put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, the world is kind of your oyster, and there are so many ways you can like connect with people and reach out. And I think yeah, it's also very, because right now it's so hard to get the traditional sense of like a paid job with security. I think it's very important to be able to kind of analyze opportunities for the potential value you could get out of it. And that's also looking into things like your new location might offer you different, or a new location will always offer you different opportunities to the one you're used to or the one you know. Kind of the same thing again of like putting yourself out there and in uncomfortable situations is always just going to serve you for the better. Yeah.
1 second, I'm just going to plug my laptop in.
Yeah.
Batteries dying.
No worries.
Yeah. That's better.
Yeah. Is there anything else I can say about that? Let me think. I can say like, especially somewhere like Taiwan, there is such a already established international community there. So even if I hadn't, thinking back now, even if I hadn't made the actual effort to go out and meet people who were not from Taiwan but were in Taiwan, there are people I've met now who I would have met anyways, like through coworkers or through friends that I happen to like live near or something. And I kind of just ended up, because there's such a community there already, of not people just from like the Western side of the world, but also from other Asian countries who, you know, who also do speak English predominantly. So it was very easy to find people to connect with.
Well, Spriha, why don't you tell me a little bit more about life in Taiwan? Like, did you explore the island? Like, what outside of your internship, what was it like living in Taiwan?
I did explore the island a lot. I really enjoy solo adventures, I guess. So I'm not like, I didn't have much experience as a solo traveler before going to Taiwan. I had maybe done like short trips, but most of my trips even were with other people. So I had done one trip where I had spent a month away from home. So that was my experience, but even that, I was in a summer program, so I was surrounded by other students constantly. And this was the first time I was like, because when I went to Taiwan, I was living by myself and, you know, fully adulting, doing the adult thing. And I spent a lot of time in those first 6 months alone, but I don't say that in like a sad way. Like, just it was good because I got the time to, especially because it was a 1 year placement, it really allowed me to have like the breathing room to adjust slowly and not kind of dive too quick into it. I've heard some other people, I met someone who did tell me, I think, which is a very common story of kind of expecting yourself to get used to it really quickly, and then you overwhelm yourself and then you're having a bad time. But I think because I knew I had a year, I knew myself enough to realize like it's gonna take a bit of time for me to get used to this, but that's okay. And I just I just kind of controlled it. And if something was a bit too overwhelming, I would like take it away from the routine and just focus on doing like the bare minimum in those first like the first month or two especially. I wasn't even trying to learn the language, and that was fine because I didn't have to speak it at work at all. And a lot of people in Taiwan also, as you know, can speak pretty good English. I was in Taoyuan, not even Taipei, but I didn't have the most horrible time. Like, I was able to communicate with people, and people are very friendly. So they're, even if they don't speak super good English, they will like try to help you. It was a very good country to like properly adult for the first time, I think, because it's more forgiving than like another big city would be. So yeah, I'm very grateful that I got to do that in that city. And yeah, I spent like a lot of time in the first 6 months taking it at my own pace and doing little trips to Taipei, because also the transport system is so nice. Like, I miss it so much, especially compared to the tube. It's so much better, and it makes me think like, which is the more developed country actually? Um, and I just enjoyed going, visiting touristy places by myself, like eating really good food, going to like I slowly started to like try and meet people outside of work, and because that was kind of a big thing that I kind of internally like fought myself with, was trying to meet new people, trying to meet friends outside of work, because it felt like at the beginning I was in kind of like this bubble of like I only knew people from my work. And with time, I ended up making some really good, like a few really good friends that I now still keep in touch with, and like we talk about like meeting each other at some point in some country in the future, because a lot of them were also from other countries, not Taiwan. But I also did come to a point where I kind of realized like the friendships I was making with my coworkers were just as valuable and just as important, because yeah, even though they were quite a bit older than me, there was especially like one who was like my work bestie, kind of, who I could hang out with outside of work. And so in the first half of it, it was kind of a lot of hanging out with her and my other coworkers, family. A very like unique kind of friendship to have, I think, but it's a very special thing in itself. Oh, sorry, there's someone cleaning my window right now from like the university. Distracted me. Um, but yeah, I guess I'm trying to trying to like summarize, because I kind of devalued those friendships before, but then I realized, oh, actually the friendships I make at work like can be just as like nice as the ones I would maybe have with people my own age. And I kind of had to like open my mind more to that. And then yeah, so I was then after actually only around the 6-month mark, I met people my age outside of work. And even in work, somebody who was younger ended up joining, who was more close to my age, and then we kind of would go out for lunch together a lot more at the end of my internship. And she was Malaysian, so she could actually speak Chinese and read it. So she took me to a lot more food places than I was able to go by myself in those first few months. And yeah, it was through actually the volunteering I did at Fashion Week that I made a lot of the my age friends. So that was a good like moment for me to realize like, oh, like I can make friends through like things like volunteering or like these extra little things, and they can actually end up sticking. And yeah, and then those were the friends that I ended up getting like very close to and staying in touch with even after I left Taiwan. So that was very nice. And yeah, there's like so much. It's such a beautiful country. There's even like I want to go back just to like do more things there, because I was there for a year like alone, but I haven't had enough of it. Like I wanna return and like visit the people that I made friends with now. Now I have like a bunch of connections in Taiwan, and not just like networky connections, but like friends. Like I have so many friends there that I can go back to and visit, and like they'll take me places. So it's really nice to have like that expanded friendship network. And what else? There are also, because of the international community, there are so many like I remember seeing so many. I joined a bunch of Facebook groups and was on like trying all these like apps to make friends. And there's a lot going on. There's always like language exchanges happening in like random pubs in Taipei. A lot of it is in Taipei because that's the most international area. But also it's very easy to get there. So like it was very easy, like after I settled into my internship and was a bit more comfortable using the daily infrastructure, I could easily like go after work on like a Friday or something to Taipei and just like go to a language exchange event or something. It was very easy to do that.
That's really cool. I like how deliberate you were and how you approached like your time in Taiwan and how you were going to use it to explore and sort of like slowly build your way into it. It's like a very like enlightened way to do it. I think often when people go and live for an extended period abroad for the first time, they go on this kind of like W-shaped curve of highs and lows, and I think you just kind of flattened that curve really nicely by kind of being quite deliberate about how you wanted to approach it, and you because you had the time to be able to do that. I think that was really good.
Yeah, and I mean that definitely was enabled by like the fact that I knew I was going to be there for a longer period of time. I know my Nanki, or I don't know if I should say her name, but the other girl that joined me in Taiwan, like after the 6-month point, she only had 6 months, so I know she also had a great time, but I can imagine she had to adjust a bit quicker if she really wanted to, experience the full experience. But also I'm more introverted, so I think that plays into like me needing more me time, and she was more extroverted, so she seemed very, very happy with her 6 months as well.
Yeah, okay, very good. Right, let's wrap up the interview there, Spriha, and just say thank you very much for coming chatting to us about your experience and your journey. I think it's really inspirational.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, thank you very much.